It seems that we are live. Thank you for joining us here. Welcome to OreAni. Our It's summertime. I actually wish I was prepared before I hit start. I'd like to introduce everyone with us today. We got Mona. We got Albert.
Oh,
We got Nick.
yo.
Sean.
Hello.
Myself, it looks like. And Vincent.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you everyone for joining me. We've been doing this for, what is it, almost 8 years? I think we started 8 years ago during summertime, just with our anime talk, talking about random nonsense and tropes and terms and doing a bunch of silly things back on Google Plus. And now that it's gone, we've transitioned over and we're still strong together, talking about our favorite shows and what we love to watch this season, or love to hate for some of us.
Oh, so you guys were had only been doing this for a year whenever I met Sean? Huh.
I'm sure.
We've had a lot of
14, Sean.
we've had a lot of guests and we've had a lot of people join us over the days and a lot of people leave us. But let's go ahead and say hi to Jessica.
We don't talk about those people.
Jessica couldn't make it today, but we'll say hi to her still. And let's go ahead and go to our first title that we're going to discuss, and it's our Monster Musume show that borderlines on hentai. And
I think the person who owns the book should speak the first on this title.
Oh no, I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about this title here, which is Peter Grill.
Oh,
To
good God.
Kenja no Jikan.
Yeah, Crunchyroll had a warning on there. That's the first time I've ever seen Crunchyroll given it this is adult content warning on any anime that I've watched on Crunchyroll. So that's surprising.
They learned their lessons from reviewers.
Not that bad, but
I don't actually even know if reviewers was on Crunchyroll or not, but
It was on Funimation.
Funimation, yeah.
Yeah, so this is being streamed on, I think it's Crunchyroll and High Dive. So I actually first saw it on Crunchyroll, then I went to High Dive and saw it there. Not too much difference on the two, but yeah, I was surprised as well. Like, I thought they were going to try to stay away from tricky titles like this on some of the streaming platforms, but looks like there's no holding back. So let me see how many people have actually read. Oh, quite a few people have watched this. So Peter Grill enters the competition, wins competition, is now the strongest man within this kingdom or continent or however it is. And I wasn't really paying attention that too much to where they were or what the fight was for.
Weren't paying attention to the plot.
who was watching the other plot?
Yeah, but then beating the champion, I guess, has now caused him some new problems. And as I've said, it's borderline hentai. If you were to just watch the first episode, you'd probably get the whole premise of the whole thing and can decide if you want to continue just on that first episode. And luckily enough, it's actually a short or a mid-size anime, I would say, about 14, 15 minutes, right?
12, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah, 12.
It's a short somewhat. And guy loves girl, He becomes strong for the girl. Now, a bunch of girls want him because he's the strongest. And now he has this conflict of, I want to stay faithful, but of course, part of him doesn't care about that. So, that's it in a nutshell. If you want to pick it up, we're not judging.
Are you sure about that?
I'm not going to judge. Anyone else have anything to say about this title?
I might judge.
No, I mean that kind of sums it up kind of perfectly. Just again, it did have like the content warning. I still say Crunchyroll may have learned something from Funimation. I'm kidding, but like this is just that type of show that I say is like on the HBO of anime, right? Like, it's this kind of stuff where it's like when people know you as an anime fan kind of go, well, why do you watch cartoons? And it's like, well, would you show this cartoon to your kid? I think it does have, it's streamed, I don't know what channels it comes out on, but I do think it has the ATX one, which is less
There's
censored.
an ATX version.
Okay. So, so like there are two ways to watch this one, and I don't know how Crunchyroll handles that. I don't know if they give you the option to watch it censored or slightly more uncensored, but still like, Japanese anime censored. I would have to try to watch it on Crunchyroll.
So, surprisingly, actually, on High Dive, they got two versions of it. They got, I think they got the Crunchyroll version, censorship, and then they have their version of censorship, which I actually think is a lot less, but it's still censored.
Yeah, that's like the ATX source.
I'm checking.
I think the ATX actually is.
So ATX is not censored.
Yeah.
There's no white light or black screens or whatever.
No, I just mean it in.
If you want to go see the Tadas, just go watch it on get the ATX version through methods. I won't say what. So, but yeah, it's pretty much you know what you're getting into. It's an ecchi show. The censored version, you can see blazing white lights covering a lot of plot.
Yeah, there's only one version.
If you want to see what's behind the white lights, go get the ATX, and there are many other people who are subtitling it, fan subbing it, so you can find them here and there. And
or as Tank said on High Dive, apparently it has the two options, whereas Crunchyroll seems to only offer you one. I don't know which one it has.
It's probably going to be the more censored version.
Yeah, considering their like target demographic.
Well, also considering just U.S. demographics in general tend to be more.
Is High Dive not like a legit company?
What? No, they're legit.
I don't know. I know that High Dive is not owned by Warner Brothers.
I got you.
And I know what Warner Brothers corporate policies are, so.
One thing surprising about this series is that how first episode ended not the way I expected. I figure if you follow the traditional harem route trope, the main character will try to hold up as long as possible, just prolong the suffering until the end. But in this series, at the end of the first episode, he has gone and done it. I'm like, okay, so what more is there from here on? Other than throwing more characters.
Clearly, there's more girls.
Well, yeah, that's expected, but I figure he'll try to, I don't know, protect his chastity, guard his chastity to his life.
In every other episode, it's just significantly worse, because episode 1, they weren't engaged yet. By episode 2, they were, and there's probably going to be many moments of unfaithfulness.
Oh.
It's summed up in that one panel in the first episode where it goes, "Why couldn't I keep it in my pants?" And pretty much that's it. So, I watched the first episode. I got the uncensored version, compared it, and then I was done with it. So, I don't feel like I need to watch 15 minutes of it. In fact, there are AniTubers, on YouTube that you could watch that have 3-minute compilations of the best scenes. Any show. So there you go. Unfortunately, they're all censored, so they're censored versions, but you will get the gist of the highlight of that particular episode. So done. I don't need to
That
spend
sounds like
15 minutes of my life.
that sounds like a 3 minutes of a wake up call if you have a hard time getting up and just turn that on and so blinded by all the light shining through.
Pretty much.
Mhm.
What are those like weird horns that I keep seeing on like contemporary anime characters? Those like Oni horns or something
Mhm.
else?
Yeah, Oni.
Yeah, there
There
are
are two
Oni
ogre
people.
girls in there, so
So let's go ahead and go to the next title, which is the Monster Girl show. I think everyone else was thinking about. What's this? What is this actually? The full name? Here. Monster Musume no Oisha-san.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it said that one pretty well, considering my
Mhm.
track record. So, this is another Monster Musume show that's come out this season, and it's pretty much the I guess what was that other one? Was it just Monster Musume? Was that just the whole title? Of
Yeah,
that
I
other?
think it was like Monster Musume no Nichijo, right? Everyday life with Monster
Yeah.
Girls.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So instead of your everyday life, it's now Monster Girls with the Doctor.
So is it related?
No.
Okay.
So, I don't know. Actually, maybe they can find.
It looks so
some
similar, but and yet it's not.
way. Yeah, because the settings are different. So,
Breaking Heart Nightmare right there.
and surprisingly, this is an adaptation from a light novel. And I actually have that book right here,
Da, 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 da.
Monster Musume or Monster Girl Doctor. I bought this 2 years ago. Never read it. Saw the anime. Now I gotta start reading it to see the difference. I've read the first few pages of the first chapter and realized that the book is way different from the anime. Well, not way different, but different in the sense that in the anime it seems like he's more static and doesn't blush as easily or get flustered as much. But in the book, it seems that he gets flustered quite more often and causes a lot more misunderstandings with how he does his practice. I don't know if it's going to be the whole thing, but that's the feeling I get from the book. But in the anime, I kind of freaked out on the first episode because it had these noises that made me go, "Oh, is someone in the house that can hear this? I need to hit this on mute real quick." With the moaning and everything that was happening, and I was caught off guard. So, it's a fantasy world where this human is living in this city where the demographics mostly monster or demi-humans, I guess you call them, with different types of species, and this human, I guess, is a specialized doctors for the demi-humans, and he's works with this. I think how do you pronounce it? Lamina. The snake.
Yeah.
Lamia?
Yeah, Lamia. She's the snake
Yeah, Lamia.
girl that's with him.
Great.
They call her Selfie or something like that, right?
Sassy.
Safi.
Safi.
So, she's his assistant in this clinic, and it seems that's just going to be a new case, new girl, every episode. I've only seen the first two. I don't know. Is there a third yet? Or
Yes.
Mhm.
Third came out.
so it must have came out today
Today.
because I didn't see
Yep.
it yesterday. So,
Yeah, it releases today.
So there's that third episode. So it's somewhat entertaining, but then again, I don't know. It's one of those, I'm on the fence if I want to keep on watching it or not. I think it'll all depend on the doctor and because I have no problems with the Monster Girls, obviously. But so we'll see how this story goes and how it. I may, like I said, I'm going to try to read the book and see how if it's totally different, if they go a different route, or. But let's hear what you guys have to say about it.
I only saw one episode. It didn't seem very special, and like it didn't look especially good. The jokes didn't land especially well. I don't know. I guess like Monster Girls as a trend, like it feels like the novelty phase is already over, right? Because we already had like the Monster Musume thing, and then we had geez, I'll never remember the name of it, but it was the one with the vampire girl and the girl that could separate her head from her body.
Oh, it's an interview with the vampire girl.
Yeah, interview with Monster Girls. So that was like the one that the presentable one. They made the presentable one, and then they had the other one, Ishizoku reviewers, that like push the envelope in the opposite direction. So now we have like, so between those two shows, you have like the full spectrum of like everything you could do within this genre.
I would include the Centaur Life one in this list just because.
I didn't see that one. Like, what did that bring to the table?
Just the high school setting with, Monster Girl races.
Okay.
But then again, that's a more of an alternate reality type. There's no human.
Yeah, humans were far removed from the series.
Right.
But
I feel like the novelty phase is over, and there's just like another one of these shows, and it doesn't seem especially like well made or interesting. So that's where I'm at with it.
I mean, I don't know which one I'd give like the which one was best made as far as artwork or concepts or just what was generally going on with any of the scenarios at any given time. But yeah, I mean, this is that type, that trope, that vein of show, and I do think that it's kind of interesting where they're coming from with we're gonna have like protagonist Kun go through the medical physiology of other animals, and I don't think that they're gonna do that exceedingly well, but just like where like in the interviewer ones, it was like, oh, how is this going for you guys in high school? And like the daily life one, it was the guy had to watch over these monster girls in human society as like a guarantor, and like there it's just stuff was happening. This one at least is like a little bit like it's content focused to the fact of we're going to be paying attention to like actual like thinly veiled biological concepts. So I do kind of give it credit there. But as far as like a recommended view to like as an anime fan, I'd say it's just something that you'd have to, not because the fact that it has Monster Girls in it should you check it out, just if it catches your interest, continue with it. I don't think it's going to be a gateway series by any means, but it's not bad.
I would say that there's also kind of a spectrum between like is it just like an excuse for like sexy situations, or is it like we're going to engage this as like a sci-fi idea, and then like Interview with Monster Girls was the sci-fi, and then like everything else is kind of it's an excuse for sexy situations, and I feel like this Doctor show is also that.
I would agree.
It's just simply too plain, but then again, it feels like that's the case with most of the summer series so far.
Yeah, there's not a lot out there that looks particularly memorable yet.
Mm.
How come you're not watching this, Albert? This seems like something you would like.
No. I just saw the TV, and that was enough.
You watched Peter Grill, but you wouldn't watch this. Okay.
I thought he was just
I
going to
have
leave
some
it.
level of standards.
All right.
Pretty much tell from what the PV what it is, and like Sean said, this is just fan service end of things, and I wasn't interested. Peter Grill was at least comedic in that approach, and right from the get-go at the first episode and the first episode, he did the deed. So I'm like, okay, well, that was interesting, but I was done with it too. So not that interested. There are plenty of shows on my backlog I haven't finished or wanted to start, and fortunately, summer is a light season. So currently, I think I'm watching only 2 shows and then a couple of carryovers from the previous seasons, and that's it. So great time to catch up.
All right.
Next.
Let's go ahead and go to the next title. I'm going to pick a title I haven't seen. I have no idea what this is about. So hopefully you guys can tell me. Decadence.
Yeah, Decadence is a weird one because it starts off kind of like this kind of hodgepodge anime. It's the kind of post-apocalypse thing where you can imagine like a fortress city, and it seems to steal some stuff from Attack on Titan. So they're like fighting monsters that attack the fortress, and they have kind of something that's a lot like 3D maneuver gear. And then by the end of the first episode, I was like, there didn't seem to be that much to it, and you still don't know why it's called Decadence. And then episode 2 kind of blows the lid off of that whole premise, and it adds this completely other layer, and then it kind of explains. And then you know why it's called Decadence, because then it says the humans were wiped out in this apocalypse, and I don't even want to explain it. It's just like super weird, and you should
just watch it, right? I haven't watched
It's really funky. I will say that it's kind of like, it reminded me of the Sky Crawlers a little bit, where it's like you think this was the premise, but it's actually all fake, and it's this kind of staged war to entertain people on the outside or something like that. But it's even weirder than that.
Right. Yeah, so I watched the first episode. I found it pretty interesting. It's by like a newer Studio Nut.
It's a great name.
And it's kind of an original property as far as I could tell. So yeah, all of those things and it's a sci-fi-ish premise, so all of those things added up to my interest level. And I watched the first episode, and there's a lot of things that they hint at, and you can see they're trying to build up the foundation for the world in general and the characters and their motivations. The main MC girl, her Natsume, her motivation is pretty simple, but it's the other people around them that's more interesting, I think, and more layered. The world is also interesting from the get-go. You see most of the main characters are human looking with pink skin, but there are also blue, green, and pink, like red-skinned people who are part of this culture, apparently. But there's no explanation except most of them belong to a different class of people. Most of them are fighters.
Yeah, it's like a caste system. Like the
Right.
show opens with the main girl saying that like her caste was going to be decided, and then it was decided that she's not going to be in the fighters and she's going to be on the maintenance team or something. She's pretty much like washing windows on the skyscraper.
And there's also this weird thing where she's orphaned. Her father dies in one of these attacks, so that's in the first few minutes. Surprised that
she's
no
the
one
child of
else
destiny.
died from when the Jeep just going at full speed crashes. No one's wearing seatbelts or anything. does lose an arm, so I do give them credit for that. But everyone else is apparently was okay, and they're, you know, when she wakes up, they're all in the middle of a fight. So whatever. And later on, so she's the orphan.
Did the
right?
dad
She's
like?
in the orphanage.
Did the dad die off screen or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was one of the fighters because he had one of those gears on, and he said, "I'll be back," and he doesn't come back. So.
Okay. But it's an implied death. I'm just gonna.
Implied death, right?
All right. Well, see if he shows up at episode 8 or something.
Right, exactly. That's a common trope. You know, he's become brainwashed, or he's become part of the enemy, or his brain's still alive, or something weird.
Yeah.
It's a mishmash of all these different concepts, right? The mobile fortress actually transforms, all these super sci-fi elements. I'm not even sure this is actually Earth, you know, watching the first episode. So whatever, the technology seems steampunkish, yet all these cables are moving on their own with electrical power. I don't know. So it's just weird. Then the fact that the very enemy, their blood or their organs and all that, they harvest to gain their power source, right? So it's kind of a mishmash of ideas, like you said.
Yeah.
Also Darling in the Franxx vibes from
Definitely.
some of it. So, yeah, at least after watching the first episodes, I'm going to continue because they laid enough foundation and enough interests, tidbits to continue. So this is one of the few shows I'm probably going to continue and pick up and finish, regardless of whether it goes good or bad.
Yeah, I was kind of in that same boat where I watched episode 1 and I was pretty intrigued. I definitely knew I was going to be watching at least 2 and so on. And although we, you know, possibly spoiled it for some people here, episode 2 really kind of floors you just in how it's presented. I was like, whoa, like I've not been this shocked at a show for a while, like that I have not even had an idea of how different that the next episode was going to be. And it was just this thing where like sometimes you're impressed that they were able to not like do something like that, because I guess like from a directorial sense, it would be kind of easy to create series like these, but it's just not frequently done. So to me, it had this like rare element to it. And I definitely know that I had that vibe of, it seems like, you know, this mishmash of shows. I leaned a little bit particularly towards, as you said, the Darling in the Franxx. But I started seeing like other elements that I would attribute to that team that, you know, that followed from, you know, Gainax and all that other stuff. Not to the point where I would think that they're trying to tell a story as they would, because this one kind of, I wouldn't say invented like a new trope or anything, but it was just kind of weird in how it kind of does this like, so like by episode 3 you kind of find out that the world as we currently kind of know it is more of like a actual real life video game, where a lot of this stuff is literally it exists. It's not like, as far as we're aware, it's not like exists in software. It's a real physical thing that a company has monopolized and somehow made to the point where it is literally a real life game, and humans are kind of the NPCs and they don't even know it. So
yeah, it's like the Truman Show, except with like people entering the fake space and playing this game within it.
Yeah, to have this like MMO experience. So I knew like I really wanted to watch a lot more of this one since that second point, but I just like I kind of do hope it goes somewhere and does something great. Like I really hope this show doesn't fall flat, because its premise is really intriguing. And I don't get like the vibe that they're gonna just do some throwaway thing with it. It's setting up a lot, but like I kind of want to say I have somewhat high hopes for it, but you never know how that goes.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried that, you know, I guess we should clarify that this isn't a Trigger show, even though it resembles
Mm-hmm.
it's a Studio Trigger show.
Yeah,
it's
so it's looked it
Go
up.
ahead.
Studio Nut. They've previously done Yojo Senki, which is Son of Tanya the Evil, and I guess they also did Fooly Cooly Alternative. But they grew out of Madhouse. So the remnants of Madhouse basically formed this new studio, and so this is their first original production, I believe.
And I think another relevant connection is the director and some of the staff. I know the character designer, but they come from another project called Death Parade, and this kind of reminds me of Death Parade a little bit, in the sense that like there's that the other main character is he's like an agent of the system, but an unhappy agent of the system. Like he was about to like kill himself until he met up with the main character girl and sort of found his new special project of like, okay, she's somehow like living outside of the system, so I'm going to make her like a fighter or something. We're not really sure what he's up to, but it seems like he wants to rebel against this like weird warped evil system in some way that he's trapped in. Because it's not just like people are playing the game for enjoyment, even though that's what they are doing, but they're also trapped because of apocalyptic circumstances. They kind of have nothing to do except play this like weird game. So he's kind of there as like an indentured servant, and he's like an agent of the system in that he like purges the things that don't conform to the master plan or whatever.
Yeah, the last element that I just wanted to kind of explain, just to help that all kind of make sense, is in this post-apocalyptic setting. While humanity is we've kind of explained their situation. A lot of this top layer society is actually kind of like robot android based. So as a cog of the system, it's a little more, I wouldn't say relevant or anything, but like a lot of the society itself is kind of recyclable. The system exists in such a state where if it deems you as not one of the proper cogs, it has no problem with disassembling you and recycling you for your resources. So that's kind of like, a lot of, I would say the civilization doesn't necessarily have that on the forefront of their mind, but it's definitely something that the main protagonist is a lot more aware of than the many others of his kin.
Yeah, there is this like late stage capitalism type theme going on, where it's like everyone's a commodity now, and everyone can be like destroyed and recycled if they're not of use to the economy.
So yeah, it did so much that I just really want it to like go places. I'm not sure that it will, but I do have somewhat hopes for it.
All right. Seems interesting. I might pick it up now. Let's check it out and see how it is. It is playing on Funimation for those who don't know. So let's go to the next title now, because you guys were talking about this brink of extinction type of thing. I might as well pull this title out. No one else seems to be watching it. GB8.
I actually want to watch that. I haven't had a chance to sit down and watch it, but I kind of want to watch it.
So here's the thing.
I seen one episode of it and I was way too on the fence with it, and I'm like, I've already got a lot on my plate. So since this was the most on my chopping block, I went, nah.
So here's the thing about this one. Like, I wanted some background noise for when I was playing a game, and also since I needed to watch some anime, I decided to put this in the background. So I missed a little bit of the beginning. All I know is it started off with this girl recording in a camera, and then you see a bunch of stuff being destroyed, and then all of a sudden you're in Edo, Japan. I was like, wait, is this a different show? And I was getting somewhat confused, so I'm going to have to go back and rewatch the beginning. But it seems that there's this virus that's being passed along and when the people get infected with it, it somehow mutates their cells at an accelerated rate that changes them into these monsters. And these monsters are all different depending on the age, sex, and race. And when you're affected, there's nothing you can do except for just succumb to your fate. And you're stuck with it. And it was so weird and strange that I was utterly confused, especially since I missed a little bit of it, that I had to continue watching. And then, of course, those people from the Edo period were a samurai and a ninja, and somehow, during being exiled for some reason, which I missed, they end up being time traveled into this time where the virus has already gone through, killed a lot of people, and there's just a few bit of humanity in some camps. And
That's fine.
the as people are going around scavenging, they find the samurai and take them with them and explain to them, what's been going on. And as they also ran into one of those monsters, and you learn more about these infected, and that this girl, the main girl, I think her name was Kathleen, she's fighting and wants to try to help create a cure, but with these creatures going around and infecting everyone else, it's really hard on everyone there. And it's just, it was entertaining enough that I might keep on watching for a little bit longer and see where this is going. At the end of episode 2, we've already got a major conflict where you find out that these beasts don't like the light. And, of course...
You found out about that in episode 1.
Yeah, so...
Or maybe they better explain why, because I didn't proceed to 2. But
yeah, but then, of course, what happens when you find out their weakness, you trip a flag, something happens, something bad, all the power goes out, and now it's a battle. So the only thing I did have conflict with this whole show, and was that all these Marines and gunners out there are shooting these beasts, but it seems to do nothing but a sword will kill them.
Well, that was my big thing, where that's what put it on the chopping block for me, was 2 people from the past end up in modern society, and they have straight up one of them's a ninja, one of them's a samurai, and the ninja has the shadow clone jutsu techniques, right, where he can almost instantly warp somewhere short distance. And to me it's if were people really in the past able to do that? Why do you have this fictitious ability alongside modern day real world events? And I wasn't back in the day to know if ninjas could really do that or not. I'm just saying, if people of modern
I'm
day
pretty
standards
sure they
can't.
could.
Yeah.
You
And
saying, could they do the Naruto thing where they make 100 Narutos? No.
no, they don't go that deep into the show. They've only done some simple techniques, but as Tank was saying there, it's just these past fighters are totally showing up modern day muscle and guns, and it's really. But also that he didn't kind of really, I think, explain that well is, while there is a virus going around, it's not our current pandemic virus. It was definitely something that once you were infected with it, as he said, they almost tied it into evolution. The latent aspects of evolution immediately come out, and a lot of the people mutate into beings that resemble animalistic monsters. You have lizard, dinosaur, bug elements, blah de blah. But they did say that once you were mutated, one of your mutations was a stinger of sorts, and that's how the virus propagated. If you were stung by the stinger, that injected the virus into you. It's not something that you would just acquire walking around every day and just not wearing a mask.
So what are the monsters like? Do you turn into like a fancy lizard man or what?
It very monstrous beings. Like
Is it
you,
like a
it'd be-
like a
I'd
werewolf?
just say like try to Google image it. Like it, there's no clear definitive shape that I could. I wouldn't say werewolf. Like it's multi-appendaged monstrosities that have never existed before, but borrow concepts from actual creatures.
Okay. Do they look good? Is this a good looking show?
It's
It's
kind
just a
of
bad
rough.
looking show. Okay.
Show. He's taking that long to say it. That's a bad looking show. Are they like CGI monsters that are super out of place in the anime?
Some of them are out of place. Actually, most of them are out of place. But when there's no monsters, it looks nice. It looks kind of a little more old-fashioned, I would say.
Like the Namibachi problem. It's like one of the best animes of all time, completely destroyed by its creatures.
Oh no, I wouldn't say that much.
Not the best anime of all times here.
Yeah, but it was interesting enough. Like I missed so much, I think, from not paying attention to a lot of the first episode. So
It's only a few minutes.
I'm going to go back and watch it, but it was entertaining enough that I kept on going on after my gaming and continue watching the next episode. And so I really want to know what's going to happen now that the base has been compromised, with the power outage and the battling that's gone on, and how are the humans going to live now. So I'm going to continue watching and see where that goes. If it starts turning more towards this fantasy aspect, I think I might lose interest, because I think it's a better show if it tries to be more grounded rather than being this ninjutsu weird thingies that was kind of explained earlier. But they did make an interesting call out that I thought was kind of fun, is that when they're infected, you'll hear this dripping sound, and it'll get quicker and quicker and louder, and as closer you get to until you become a monster. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But other than that, not much else to say about Gigabit 8.
Gigabit.
I almost said it.
What's the name of this thing?
He's not saying G. He's not pronouncing it as G. He's starting with G instead of G.
GB8.
I have no clue, actually.
So yeah, so that's that show.
I thought it was like or something like that. Never mind.
Let's move on. Let's go to something a little more lighthearted, I guess. With all these, humanity about to be destroyed and everything. Let's pull up this title here. Let me see what is this called again. I'm going to say the English name because I don't want to mess up the Japanese. The Misfit of Demon King Academy.
Woohoo.
Yeah, I've read some of the manga, and then went to watch the anime and realized, I still don't like it. So,
Well, I like it, so.
I mean, it's something I'm going to watch. For some reason, it's the type of show I would watch, but I don't want to like it. Whoa, where's that move?
I can't tell.
Oh,
cherished.
Are
Echo,
you jealous
echo,
for
echo.
Hanos?
She muted.
Exactly.
We're good.
I believe it's Vincent echoing. Okay.
No, it was.
Oh, whoa.
It was not. Trust me, we're good.
Okay, we're good. So.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about the show other than that I don't really like it, but I'm gonna watch it because it's something I would watch. The Demon King, or whatever his name is, Ion or something like that. Anos.
Anos Bodyguard or something like that.
Yeah, He's the Demon King from way back in the past. He transfers or his consciousness, or he's reincarnated so many years in the future. I can't remember how many years. Like what?
2,000 years. Yeah.
And then, yeah, he's just this OP guy that can do almost anything, has no problems, which kind of bugs me. The manga was at least very, very funny, and I love the parents. The parents made this thing for me. Without the parents, the show is not too entertaining.
Okay, so hang on a second. Just going on the fact that this is like one of those like protagonist Kun like power trip type shows. So if you don't like that, it's not entertaining. But if you tend to like power trippy shows, you know, I can see where he's coming from though. Anyway.
Yeah, actually, I really have nothing else to say about this show. Just, yeah, OP guy goes to school, realizes that, I guess, history's been changed, and he was expecting this great welcome as the revival of the Demon King is now back, but of course, because of history, no one knows that he was the old Demon King. So, it seems like he's going to try to help people remember, or he has to become, he's going to the school to become a candidate for the Demon Lord again. And it's just weird. I mean, it's all over the place. He's like, what, 1 month old in this
or so,
reincarnated
something
world?
like that.
And he's doing all these strange things. Yeah, so it's one of these shows. Actually, let me check. I want to see if Albert's watching this, because
I watched the first episode.
yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? I figured
Yeah.
it's one of those things that you would watch and then you would be like, oh no, throw this away.
That's actually what happened, right? So first of all, let me tell you the entire name, the title, right, which goes 魔王学院の不適合者、史上最強の魔王の子孫転生して子孫たちの学校へ通う。Okay.
Whoa.
That should just tell you how that's how it is. So first of all, the guy is, of course, this is a completely OP fantasy trope, right? He's reincarnated. He has all these superpowers. He has even powers no one has seen since 2,000 years ago. And the part that really annoyed me is that everyone, all his opponents are dumbasses. Like, they see him do incredible feats of magic and of time and power and manipulation of life, and they all think that he's some sort of, it's all trickery. So they keep saying, I can beat him with this and that, when it's clear that you have no chance, like zero chance. And yes, if this is all his descendants and how stupid they are, of course he's gonna be super disappointed. They're just dumb. So the first guy in the school, yeah, okay, I get it. He's dumb and how stupid he is. So the Demon King, kills him, brings him back to life, which no one has ever seen before. Kills him, brings him back to life, and makes him beg him to stop, because the opponent basically said, I'm not going to kowtow to you even if you kill me. And the Demon King's like, well, how about if I kill you 100 times? And proceeds to start to do that. Right? So from the get-go, you should be able to see that there's something incredibly wrong of the situation, and yet all his enemies are like, I'm going to trick him and do this and that, and therefore I will win, when you have zero chance. These people are stupid. So that ran through the entire course of this first episode. I couldn't believe anyone behaving as any kind of logical being, and that was it. So
So
I
quick
watched the first
question.
episode. I was done with it.
Quick question. How would you relate that to like America reacts to the pandemic as far as intelligent response?
Completely different kind, but it's probably people who deny the reality of the situation.
That's what I.
At some point,
That's
you
kind of
have
what
to
I
look
felt was at
at
play
the
here. It's not that it's. I don't feel as though they witnessed this guy doing this stuff, and it's not that they're in disbelief. It's just you have that like that our society like because they also have that caste system, right? They have a nobility, they have rankings. It was kind of established in one of the episodes that if you're not from a noble rank, you shouldn't challenge a higher noble rank just out of like we don't care how strong you are, you just don't up nobility like that. And that's kind of like what this character is doing, and that's causing a lot of people to perceive him in a way where they do deject reality. But I mean that's not the whole premise of the show. That's not what it's going to try to establish and do. It is a power trip show. So it has like the feats of greatness. It has like, you know, like some of the action scenes are kind of weird, but like one of the things that kind of like blows my mind about this series is how fixated everybody is with magic. And like one of the quirks of the Demon King is just to show off pure strength, like Dragon Ball Z level strength. And everybody's all invested about magic, and like nobody cares about like raw strength. And he like does everything he does just mostly through strength. He's like, why are you guys even worried about all these barriers? Just and like punches a wall and it like gets destroyed because like nobody does that. They only care about magic, and that's an element of the show that I enjoy. Just this like aspect of not necessarily to him it's thinking outside the box because again society is hell-bent on nobility and magic and um and there is that somewhat I wouldn't say intriguing but the plot element of somebody of altering or like something going on with the past to change it from the current reincarnated Demon King's perspective of what used to happen. So it's not entirely clear to the show or the viewer what's going on yet, but it's just one of the shows that I watch because it's got the action scenes and like the fighting scenes that I know I'm going to like. But I know that lots of anime fans aren't into anime for those reasons. So I enjoy this show, but I know that it's like not for everyone.
Is this like unironic One Punch Man or something? Does it just have like a lot of people like setting up the big showdown and then it ends with one punch or
No.
I don't know.
Like
Kind of weird, but it's more of OP level.
yeah, he also has this thing. Oh, you can do that. Well, I can do it too.
Yeah, like he's constantly wanting up, like because he knows all the original techniques. So like when he sees, again, kind of like how Albert I think was saying of how idiotic, like how stupid the current society was. It was just kind of interesting and how it's not. It's like almost your like every show has it right. The power scaling where you have this like power level. Like we kind of saw it in the irregular at Magic High School. His problem was he was brilliant, but he could barely manipulate magic. So while he was coming up with these crazy ways to use magic, he was not super capable of just having the raw power to do so. And that's kind of what's at play here. It's not that society is like really, really dumb, or well, they might be, but it's also that like to them it's very normal. Like the Demon King was an exception of power, not just anybody could become that powerful. Like they didn't have that power, like that innate power scale that just was so immense. So I wouldn't say that like society is particularly at fault. It's just more like yeah, like One Punch Man just doesn't exist every 2,000 years, and that's kind of like more the core problem here. Like when One Punch Man isn't around, there is no One Punch Man. So society got used to there being no One Punch Man.
Mm-hmm.
But But yeah, like he shows off the high level magic, but I always like the fact that like in this society that seems driven by magic, he tends to answer a lot of things with like just strength, and I laugh. He's like, "What are you guys even doing? Just like punch a hole through this stuff."
But yeah, I don't know. It's a strange show that, like, honestly, I wouldn't mind that he was OP or even super strong, as you say, but some of the things he does, I just found so stupid that I'm like, come on. Like, when Albert was talking about when he was killing that guy, he was killing him with just his heartbeat.
Yeah,
And I thought that was just too stupid.
I understand.
So, but like I said, I love the interaction and his parents. His parents, oh, they're so silly and funny that I'm willing to put up with it and watch the show. But yeah, that's enough of that show. Let's go ahead and move on to the next title, which is ReZero. Ooh, Isekai. I think this is one of our only isekais, maybe, that started new this season. Was there another one? I can't remember.
I mean,
Well,
no,
I guess,
there's just trapped in the video game world, which is pretty darn close to isekai, but
well, I guess GB8, or I don't know. I guess that's more time travel than isekai. But yeah. So it's the second season. Everyone's been waiting for. I think everyone was excited for it. And
Is this really the only isekai show? I think that we should recognize how profound that is.
I think it is.
in
I
the
think
course of anime history.
There's technically two trapped in video game worlds, but
Yeah,
I think also Digimon's, that's also a video game world, I guess, or kind of.
oh, Digimon's a bit
Oh.
isekai. Like that's a tough one.
I
Digimon.
don't think we should.
Exception.
Let's not stretch the definition too far. It's like when you say isekai, you know exactly what it's meant. It's some long named light novel like otaku bullshit. It's not Digimon.
yeah. So
Well, yeah. So new ones. I mean, Sword Art started up again, right? SAS.
Yeah, that's
started
one of
up.
the trapped in the video game worlds I gave.
So the only
But,
there are no new isekai shows. So it's just the sequels.
Just from looking over the list, not that I'm aware of, but I'm not
Wow.
considering the stuff that picked up again as of yet.
yeah, very very strange.
So there's
And
no
like,
like
look at this, guys.
there's
Look at
more
this.
coming.
Look at this. So the moment there is a severe lack of isekai shows, he goes, "Man, this season's kind of boring."
so
I'm kidding.
So ReZero, who wants to take up this mantle?
I
I haven't heard much from Vinny. Let's have Vinny talk about ReZero.
Pass. I will wait until it reaches, I don't know, at least
Okay.
6 episodes, because I'm not
So-
gonna go through week at a time.
I'll say that I picked it up and I watched a few episodes. It does pick up kind of right where it left off, where right after the battle with the great whale, and it doesn't like it continues more of the same. I don't feel as though they've like significantly changed any facet of the show to make it super distinctly different from season 1. But one thing that will confuse me, that I was looking maybe for clarification here, because I haven't looked into it, is I couldn't help but notice that this is my phone. What's going on? I'm in the watch folder, that's what. So two, like, I don't know if they were in theaters, but films have dropped for ReZero. Like both roughly an hour, like one an hour 20 or hour 16 in runtime, and the other an exact hour. And you got ReZero. It's Memory Snow is the first one, and I think like the second one, or I don't know which order I have them in here. But then you have Hyoketsu no Kizuna as well. And I looked through them just to see if they were like compilation films, and they didn't seem to be compilation films. So I didn't know how their content fit in like how did they drop right before season 2, but are like, not continuing right after season 2? So I haven't checked them out yet,
It
but
came out at different points in time.
yeah,
It just happened that I don't know, Crunchyroll got the access to it, so it's out, so people can watch it. But
cool.
Kyogetsu no Kizuna is about it's a prequel about how Emilia and Puck met, I believe. I haven't watched it, so
Okay. Yeah, I haven't
it's
either.
more about the backstory. It's not a direct continuation of the main story.
Hmm.
So main story continues. You right from the get go. It's pretty funny because they sideline best girl, right? So Rem is out of the equation for she gets like a few lines at the beginning, and then for the rest of it, for perhaps the rest of this core, you're not going to hear her talk except in flashback. So there you go. Very interesting take on it. And you basically, at the end, they had the big fight against one of the archbishops, right, of the witch cult, Pelagius, and you suddenly meet two others all of a sudden, and the stakes start rising up again. So it's the same. Subaru is still Subaru. I do say they're not afraid to make him look ugly when he cries, and he does cry a lot, and it is it is interesting to look at as he's just his face is completely deformed. He's crying. His snot is running out of his nose. So I'm like, okay, yeah, good job. Yeah, everything that you liked about the previous season or previous two cores. This is continuing that, and the story becomes more involved with the witch cult, and obviously they're heading out to find out what happened to the villagers who didn't show up when they were supposed to meet up, and where's Roswell, and all of that. So I think it's going into more of the backstory of the world building that they established, but very little was revealed about the witch cult, and all of that. So if you like the first two cores, the first season, I think you'll like the second, unless you're a Rem fan.
Is that the one with blue hair or the one with pink hair?
Blue.
There.
Okay. So I haven't been watching ReZero. A friend of mine is, and I've been shown like random episodes of it. I know that like the rough premise is like Sweatpants Man from another world is in this Groundhog Day time loop where he's trying to engineer the perfect scenario in this fantasy world.
But he
And
doesn't
he gets
decide
he-
when that happens either.
He doesn't get the what?
Whenever he sees a situation kind of ending, like it's not his own call. When he attempts to, because you essentially know Groundhog Day is met upon his death. There are times where he's still not liking what's going on, so he attempts Groundhog Day, but like it's been decided for him that you're past your ability to change that anymore. It's like he's not in control of deciding when,
Save point.
like how far,
Nick
yeah,
is trying
where
to
the
say
save
that
point is.
there are save
Okay.
points that he doesn't control. So,
Yeah.
for example, at the very beginning of this second season, he realizes something has happened to Rem, so he kills himself to try to reset it, but it's past that event, so he can't fix it by going back in time because he's restricted. The save point updates, and he can only go back to that save point.
Yeah, like to me, it was more interesting, like with what decides that, if not him. But that's not the scope of this show.
Okay. Yeah, so that was my question. Like, are they still doing the Groundhog Day thing? And I guess they found a way to keep doing it. So.
Yeah, it's a continuation. Even from the first season, his save points updates, and he can only do certain things upon death. Also, in the first season, it wasn't clear if death has to happen naturally, meaning someone has to kill him. I guess that's natural too. Does suicide count? So there was an element of I don't really know how this power works, but he's at least figured out a good portion of what will happen, although he doesn't know how many times he can actually do it, right? So there is an element of, well, is this going to be the last time, or do I actually die? So it's a deconstruction of the isekai genre that we've all come to love. Where Konosuba was more of a comedy and just dumbassery, right? ReZero is more of a horror because you're stuck. He doesn't have any powers. He wasn't given anything except this weird ability to go back to a save point he has no control over to redo it. It doesn't prevent him from dying. It doesn't prevent him from suffering. It doesn't prevent his loved ones from suffering and dying and mutilated and being forgotten. That's pretty horrific, right? And you think about all the number of times he goes back and tries to attempt it and keeps failing. He himself is building multiple relationships with these people over those loops, but they don't have that to him. So his connection to them has grown much, much deeper than their connection to him. And that hasn't been fully explored, I don't think. And that's also kind of horrific if you think about it.
Yeah, that's one of the moments of the season 1 that really impressed me, is when he went to talk with a character with their backstory, and they kind of looked at him and went, how do you how do you know that? And of course we know because of his, Groundhog Day mechanic, but it's like the moment that the animators were able to convey when they went, oh, it's becoming a blur to me to keep track of what I should know about someone in this particular run, when my memory of that person is all a blur anyway. It's hard to keep track of what I should and should not know about these people for the conversations that I'm to have with them. And that, to me, how they were able to convey it in the one scene worked. And while it hasn't been revisited on, touched upon massively throughout the show, I thought that was a pretty chilling effect at the time.
And there is one restriction Subaru does have, and that's he can't tell anyone.
Yeah.
Anytime he tries to confess or let someone know, he goes through so much pain. And also, you're revealed something more and more each time, which we still don't have a clue, but we're seeing more of a picture as we get further along in the story. But it's still pretty interesting. They're introducing a lot more characters now in the season 2, and so obviously if you didn't like the first season, you aren't going to get into this one. And if you want to watch the show, you have to obviously start with first season, but I think you could watch the director's edition rather than watching all 20. What was it, 26 or 24 episodes?
Dude, isn't the director's edition just the Blu-ray cut? Or the disc release cut, I should say. It's just not the broadcast cut is all.
I think it's shorter as well, though. I could be wrong. I didn't watch it.
I haven't watched it. There is some content difference too, because they added that it goes past the end of the Great Whale Hunt in the director's cut. I had to remind myself what happened, where exactly they ended. I just looked at the very last episode of the director's cut, and I'm like, I don't remember this segment where Emilia ends with "Who is Ram?" or "Who is Rem?"
Gotcha.
So
just setting up for season 2.
So I think there were content edits, and probably you might be right. It might be just the Blu-ray, but I don't remember. I don't remember everything. So yeah, if you're a fan of the isekai and you like the first season, watch it. If you want to watch it, I would start from the first season using the director's cut or whatever they're calling it.
Mm-hmm. And surprisingly, I think I don't know if all 3 episodes, but I think episode 1, episode 2 didn't have or episode 1 and episode 3 didn't have opening credits or opening music video, whatever you want to call those.
think that's the same for the second one. Did not have OP. I think the OP song came at the end of the episode.
Yeah, so
So it feels bigger, like it feels cinematic in that sense.
Well, yeah, but I remember episode 1 and maybe 2, but at the very least 1 was like a double feature. So like when it aired on TV, it wasn't, the 24 minutes long. It was like the 28 minutes long. So that could be why it didn't have it, because that would have been the opening song would have been at like the end of episode 2 kind of a thing. So 1 wouldn't have had it, but anyway.
well, let's go to the next title then. And since we were talking about it, I guess we might as well mention Sword Art Online, War of the Underworld. It's part 2. And it has this caption on here, the last season. So is this finally the end of Sword Art Online? And what's happened? Like I ended at Alicization, so like, what is this?
Well, Alicization wasn't over, and I think someone wants to talk about it. So
Yeah, so Alicization is kind of its own core, and these are kind of multiple seasons within the core. But arc, I guess I should say. So the first Alicization arc is when Kirito is involved in this basically government project to create a very special kind of AI to man certain weapons. So he is put into this virtual world, and he, it has absolutely no memory of his real life, and he's just growing up in this world.
I was going to let you build up, but I just wanted to say the tech that they claim they made for this was like the precursor to Excel World. It's essentially we use the brain as a processor, and once your brain ceases being like your current brain, we're literally like feeding stuff into it and watching the output. They are able to do stuff like accelerate time perspection and like shut off your memories. But that's the core of this technology is. It's not just we're controlling your dreams, it's we're using your brain as a processor. Anyway.
So the first part of the arc is him being friends with this girl Alice and this other boy, and they grow up together. Alice causes problems. Long story short, Kirito's memories eventually come back as shit is hitting the fan. He is.
Can I elongate that explanation?
Yeah, go for it.
So the really interesting thing was he was actually in, reality. He was living his life, and somebody attacked him in the way that they were using in Gun Gale Online. They injected the paralytic into him, and he basically started having like a heart attack in the middle of the road. And while he was whisked off to a hospital, he was out of it for quite some time. So while he wasn't out of the neck of the woods of his medically induced injury, they were worried about concepts of brain damage. And that's when the government kind of stepped in and like literally like under the rug swept him out of the hospital to hook up to the machine he was testing anyway, because we're going to see if we can actually recover him if he was damaged. Like that was the whole premise of that happening, and I thought that was kind of nice. Not that the government did it, but just as a sci-fi element. Like that's kind of cool. So when he was put into the machine the second time with his memories, it was because they were trying to see if he had brain damage.
Going. I like this. This is information that I have completely forgotten because
Yeah.
I watched the whole series. So they grow up. There is a weird kind of trigger within this program that they are all in, virtual world that they are all in, where there's a protocol where they are required to follow the rules. And that's a very big premise for this world. They're supposed to follow the rules. So when they go against the admins who are setting these rules, they are basically turning into a virus, so to speak, or a bug. And their eye ruptures. It's very, very dark. So there's it's kind of hard to explain in terms of like the memory games that are played whenever they all become adults. It's like the second season of the first arc. And basically the admin is this huge bitch, excuse my language, and she is basically manipulating and kind of using people and traumatizing them and abusing her power within the system. And she's kind of like this very infantile, childish, cruel existence. And Kurito and Alice, or yeah, like Kurito is first against Alice because she's one of the paladins of this goddess admin evil lady. His buddy becomes an enemy as well. It's just this Kurito against the world at one point, and then they come back to their senses, so to speak, or they break out of the protocol, so they no longer feel like they have to follow the rules, and they're able to join with Kurito and fight with him. And then outside in the real world, there is this other group who is trying to take control of Alice, because Alice was the first to break the protocol, and she is kind of like the ideal of what this AI was supposed to become.
Yeah, like kind of like as she was saying there was a lot of intriguing stuff that Alicization did that I really liked, because like the premise of the show was they copied like the mental state of a newborn infant and then replicated it over this crystal storage media system that they came up with. And that was like how they, accomplished this like massively. Like we literally have to teach this infantile mind how to be a person. Like that's how their AI formed. And they did have, they wanted to apply this towards society, with the first outlook being, well, we need like the military to pick this up to get funding, because who else funds this sort of stuff? So with an eye towards using it towards the military, they were concerned when they noticed that the AI wasn't able to violate the law, essentially. And they were a little bit worried about that, because they're like, well, this could be good in a military state. We don't know exactly why they can't break the law. Like they try to make it like is this a nature or nurture issue? Is it because of the way they were brought up, or is there a fault in our crystal storage media system? And that's when you kind of find out like the extent of this is what I like, how the guy uses like virtual worlds and writes this stuff, how he kind of integrates these concepts into, his fantasy tale. And as kind of Mona was saying there, the admin character was kind of like the bug of the system, was someone who they only taught these characters Japanese. Like that's all this society knew. But they had a scripting system that was their magic system, and it was in pure English. Like they would literally say system call generate thermal element instead of using Japanese, and then like define all the parameters and stuff. And the admin of the world analyzed this like system call, like the English phonetics, so to speak, and reverse engineered like English as best she could out of the scripting system, and started running commands that they never taught her to. And that's like how she obtained this authoritative position in the world. She was literally running like console commands to directly manipulate the memories of the crystal storage medium. She like basically got access to the very ability to save and unload data off people's minds. And she was able to make this convoluted system, which I believe was that like error in the iMessage thing. The answer that humans never really caught happening, because they weren't really watching the world super closely, was I think she was able to install, or like put an element of, I don't want to say code, but she came up with a system where a two-factor system in which when they went to violate the law, not only would they get a log of it, so like a little thing would open, and they would like society itself, the head honchos, people directly under this system admin person, would directly like witness the crime being done. So then they would get a record and, you know, send the arrest warrant out, so to speak, because it's like, we know you done did it. But like certain factors were like when it came to murder, that's where that error code in their eye would kind of come up. And that was more of the question of, why is that happening? Is that the limitation of the crystal media, or did someone else put that there? And it's revealed that they have a mole in this building. So they think that, you know, basically the viewer is supposed to interpret that the mole probably put that in place, not the admin, because the mercenary squad that learned that they finally had an AI that they could harvest, one that could, you know, they could maybe copy many times over to this crystal medium and get it to pilot stuff in reality, was, you know, how did this mercenary squad learn that it happened? Well, it was a mole within this research lab thing. And that aspect of the arc is where the story is really picking up now. Like, who was the double agent that the research team themselves didn't even know that they had?
Let me jump in for a second. I
Sure.
haven't seen Kirito's Sword Art Online since like the first anime series.
Yeah.
What you're describing now sounds like every Metal Gear Solid game happening at the same time.
Cool.
This doesn't sound like a real anime. Like, it just sounds like a bucket of like crazy sci-fi ideas. What actually happens in this show? Are they just like PowerPointing all these like
No, it's
No.
sci-fi ideas, or does like Kirito pick up a sword and fight a goblin or something? Like,
For the most
what
part,
is
yes.
what actually happens in the show?
So what actually was happening was he grew up a second time under the show, where like knights, because the whole premise of the underworld, as they call it, was that they had two societies at play. They had the human society and the monster society, all based off the same infantile memory crystal. And the game was supposed to harvest AIs, and it was scripted to the point where
Hold on,
a
what?
big war was going to
Hey,
happen.
Nick.
Yes.
What I'm actually asking is, like, if you showed me a random part of a
That's
random
what I'm
episode of
telling
this
you.
show, what would I see? Would I see
That-
talking heads? Would I see dudes fighting? Would I see
Yes.
something else?
Yep.
You'd see an isekai. You would see Kirito in a virtual reality world beating up knights, and it looks a lot like Sword Art Online.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this is the premise that it worked so long to achieve, and the whole point was that there was supposed to be a war between the monster society and the human society. So the human society has this knight caste system where they are nobility, but they're supposed to be strong to fight the oncoming monster army that they're going to invade one day. It's been foretold, it's definitely happening. We have to be able to beat all the monsters that are going to try to take humanity down. And that's where like that game element kind of comes in, where there's a school based upon swordplay that the character had to go through, and he's fighting humans. There are knights that go on skirmishes to fight the monsters. Like, that's what you're seeing in this show. But like the underlying reason why is what I was trying to explain. And one of the interesting like things here is that we're kind of like at the point now where something happened to the character, and he assumably sustained more damage than when he first went into the system. He kind of looks like a
MIA for like all of last season, and I have no idea how long he's going to be MIA this season, but it's driving me up the goddamn wall. I'm just going to put that out there. Like,
So,
how
like-
do you keep your MC out of the fucking story?
That's what I was going to tell him. He's not going to see Kirito for the most part in this one. He's like in a wheelchair, holding some swords.
Okay.
But the cool thing about this one, like, we're at the point now where the mercenary squad was so like they have a time sensitive mission. They got to get in, get this thing, and get out. Their government body has only bought them so much time to complete this mission while holding off, like, you know, the Japanese version of the Marines. And the really cool thing about like this point is the mercenary guys needed like a bunch of henchmen, but they couldn't produce a bunch of henchmen. So they wrote like a compatibility code layer where they're like, oh, it's like the middle of night for Japan right now, but it's like broad daylight in America. Let's make this real quick like game. They released this game in America where they're saying like, go in as like a low level like character and fight like real combat experience. Like they invited American players through the older interface.
What they did.
Huh?
They sent out a shitload of beta keys, is what they
Yeah.
So
But, like-
there's like a Ender's Game thing where people think they're playing the game, but they're actually killing in real life.
Well, no, because they're all fake. Like they're memory crystals. They're not actual people.
Just
But
AI.
yeah, they're AI.
I'm so confused. Like, how much of what you're describing is taking place in reality, and how much is taking place in virtual reality?
All of it's taking. Well, most this season it's like half and half.
Yeah,
Okay.
But last season it was
completely like virtually for the most. Like until it was the parts where Asuna was getting to the facility to see Kirito hooked up to the machine, but all of the sci-fi premise was happening pretty much in the virtual world.
Okay.
But like the cool thing now is like so now the good guys were at the disadvantage. All these American players were logging in and helping out the enemy side while the henchmen guys were trying to steal off the AI. So like the good guys, like, if you remember, Kirito for the longest time has had his own like not crystal memory based AI, but the Sword Art Online Yui based AI caught a lot of this stuff going on. So she reached out to like all the good player base and tried to get instead like whereas the Americans had to log in as like level 1 things.
Except he's basically brain dead.
Yeah.
So
But like
where we are.
now the good guys are able to convert their characters into this world and help out their army. And now like the bad guys realized, oh, we have this ability to do that. Let's do that with some of our own guys and now invite the Korean and Chinese players in on this. So it's just like crazy. I love it.
This can be kind of a weird tangent, but a long time ago, I read an old manga called Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah.
And it's not that much like the movie. The original manga was kind of like some uber nerd's brain dump. He had like a million sci-fi ideas, and he like tried to like ram it into this one manga that like barely held together, and it went into like a zillion tangents. You know, it was like Michael Crichton on crack.
Mhm.
And then they made that movie that everyone's seen. It's one of my favorite movies ever. It takes like a handful of those ideas and it tries to like mold it into a movie that makes sense and it has a point.
Yeah.
But I guess Hideo Kojima, the creator of Metal Gear, like if you look at all his works are kind of like that too, where like he just has like a zillion ideas. He's trying to like cram it into one thing.
About Kojima?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's talking.
Look at Death Stranding.
Yeah, and a lot of other things that he's made also goes off on like crazy tangents. Like even the Metal Gear games are nuts. Like the Sword Art Online sounds like the modern equivalent of that, of like the late '80s like otaku that has like a bajillion ideas, tries to cram it into a thing. It's
I mean, I see where you're coming from, and I don't want to deny it, but I do. But I see where you're coming from.
It's like just listening to you guys describing this Sword Art Online. You all sound crazy. Like you're trying to describe the plot of Metal Gear Solid 4, which is like indescribable. That's all I wanted to say.
Understood.
I haven't read the light novels, so I'm just watched the anime, and I kind of want to go back and read the light novels now. But it was a very straightforward isekai story, and it just kept evolving into new and different iterations and different types of gameplay and different reasons for why they're in the game. And I think they just ran out of reasons, and now they had to make it about like them actually trying to recover brain damage. So I think that's kind of where they ended up with it. I don't know if that was intentional. All I know is that the main character has not been in the story for the past couple seasons.
Oh,
See, the funny thing is, way back in the day, I actually did read a little bit of the light novel. Sword Art Online was the only thing that I read a lot of the light novels on. And I was a little ahead of like the anime curve for a while there. But like when I got to Alicization, I read like the first, translated book, not officially released translated book, because this is like way back in the day. But like, I remember I got to a certain point and the book ended in kind of a way that was opposite of like the first core story that started it all. And it's kind of like, I don't know, I maybe had an idea of what I thought was going to happen. And that's totally not what ended up happening. Because it's basically when they got like flung out of the tower and I thought they were gonna like fall to the ground and like have to start like a buddy cop kind of, well, not buddy cop, but a duo thing instead of like climbing the outside of the damn tower. But like that's where the book one ended, and a lot of this story thus far is completely new to me because I never went back and finished the light novel, and I had to wait a long time for it to get this far.
Okay. Let's move on. So, if you're going to watch Sword Art Online, you got a lot of catching up to do, I guess.
Talk to next.
It's a very complicated story. Let's move to this next title, which made me go, oh god, why did we talk about Alicization? But The God of High School. Yeah, so this is another one of those webtoons adaptations now becoming an anime on Crunchyroll.
So does that make it a Korean thing?
Yep.
It's soon.
Okay.
But this one is way better than the last one. And by way better, I mean at the end of episode 1, I was like, hell yeah, this is cool. This is awesome.
God of High School is such a, oh my god, the live action though. Like if you want to laugh and just see something absolutely absurd, look up the live action God of High School on Netflix. It's amazing, absolutely incredible, and you need to be high to watch it. I'm just putting it.
Yeah, but the God of High School surprised me.
I love what Crunchyroll is doing with these. I love what Crunchyroll is doing with the webtoons.
The only thing that I found weird about it, though, was like some of those characters, I'm like, I don't believe that's a high schooler. But,
yeah, and yeah, again, like refer to the live action because we're talking like 30-year-old men who are supposed to be high schoolers, and you're just like, wait, what?
But yeah, I'm not too sure on the whole gist of it. I can't remember too much. I just remember just laughing, having fun with
it's basically this competition, effectively, and it's to find the strongest person in the world, effectively. And so they're bringing all of these people into this high school, and they kind of have this battle royale where they kind of are selecting the most powerful ones, and then once they have those selected, they're all admitted to the high school, and then they just basically fight it out. They have like these tournaments, and so it's just people are just constantly trying to rank them. From my recollection, it's been a long time since I watched it, and I haven't really had a chance to sit down and watch more than 10 minutes of the first one. So
yeah. So for the anime, the first episode, I believe, is introducing probably our main cast, and it seems like it's going to be 4 characters that are going to be our main target for the story. And then the first half of it is while they're introducing them is through a chase scene where this guy steals this old lady's purse or wallet or something like that, and now they're going to go help retrieve that. And a lot of things happen in the course of this chase scene as they all run into each other and try to do this good deed. And it's just so silly, but it's a good silliness. And now we're into the tournament, and they explain the tournament that's going on, but it also seems that there's this darker backstory that's also going on in the background that they show tidbits of, such as this island that was decimated by this weird force that when they look at it, it looks like a hand. And also you're getting some other views of like the underworld of what's going on within the world besides this battle that's happening.
yeah, there is depth to the story. I mean, it's still ongoing. The webtoon has been going for a long ass time, and you're not going to get that just from tournaments. You have to have more depth to the story, and there is very much a deeper world, and it does have kind of the same vibe. in terms of like the undercurrent story or the world that is created. You kind of learn about it bit by bit. You kind of just get little lantern slides of it. Um, yeah, it is kind of like this underworld fighting community, and there's a lot of politics that go into that, and guys and bad guys, and yeah, so
Yeah, so that's kind of nice because it's not just going to be a whole battle royale or a whole battle type anime. It
it's
seems
also
like
very selective, just to put that out there. And like there are lots of concepts around friendship and rivalries and romances, and that's a big element too.
hmm also, to me at least, they've done a really good job of how do I say this, tricking my expectations, because like I expect something to go this way, and then you realize it didn't go that way at all. So like at the end of the first episode, where you're like, oh, he's gonna beat that guy. Then episode 2 comes up, you're like, wait, what happened? And you realize that the end of the battle ended in a way that I wasn't expecting, at least. And it's been pretty fun. So this is, I think, a show that would be easy to get others into watching, especially maybe introducing people into some action anime, because the comedy's pretty decent and the action scenes are very well drawn out.
But I felt the same way about Tower of God. So I'm a big fan of what Crunchyroll has been doing with these. So
Yeah, so I don't know if Albert or Vincent have seen the first episode, but I would recommend maybe giving it a shot or giving a look. It was decent and pretty fun for this season.
Okay.
So, with that said, Nick, you have anything else to add, or?
No, I mean, it's definitely the first webtoon that I was watching. I really couldn't get into Tower of God either. I would say that like the character design animations are a little bit out there. I don't know if they're trying to mimic an aesthetic of the original art design or not, but it's definitely a catchy enough show, and I'm excited to kind of check out like a webtoon anime for like the first time.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's continue on to the next title since we got this action comedy. Let's just go comedy with this title here called Uzaki-chan wo Asobitai. I believe on Crunchyroll they have it, Uzaki Wants to Hang Out. Or I think it's actually Funimation, right? Never mind. Not Crunchyroll, Funimation. And one word, or I guess it's not one word, but the word that best describes the show is Sugoi Dekai, right? Because you'll see
that shirts.
you'll see that a lot. And it's pretty obvious why we're shown that, or we'll get to recognize that phrase. It starts off as I thought it was going to be a school type of anime, but it turns out it isn't. It's kind of all over the place. The characters are in a university setting, so rather than being in a high school setting, it takes place in a university, and it's about this basically Uzaki-chan, who ends up attending the same school as her senpai, which his name happens to be Shinichi, and I guess she respected him or something, but she was also, I believe, part of the same club, which she was in the swimming club in high school. So when she met him, she had this nostalgic of nostalgia with him and being in the same school, but then over a montage at the beginning, you realize that he's a loner, and he's um she watches him for I think it's a year and realizes that he doesn't really do much. So now she decides that she needs to step in and do something, and it's basically a show of her just messing with her senpai and trying to liven his day in a. In, that's the best way I can describe it.
I don't know. If this was a real life, I might have gotten the restraint order against her.
So, I would highly recommend it for the comedy. It's a fun show. Who else has watched this? Let me check. So Albert, you saw some of it, or
Saw episode 1. And yeah, not my show. I was interested in it because there's a what was it, last year? There was a controversy of using her image in a blood drive donation. Right? And the whole thing about her, she tries to needle and just be annoying, and that's partly why her name is Uzaki, right? Uzai is like annoying in Japanese. So if you hear someone say Uzai, that's kind of a rude way of saying you're a pest. So Dex-chan, she needles and annoys and complains to her senpai and makes fun of him. Try to get him to do things. I mean, she has feelings for him or whatever, but it's just not my cup of tea. Same reason I don't really care for Takagi-san. But in this situation, I just wanted to check the first episode out to see what it's like. And her character design, she has a fang, right? Her canine is not in line, so she has a fang, and it's not teeth color. It's just a skin fang. So right off the bat, I'm like, don't really care for that design. She's a really short. I think she's less than 5 foot tall. So she's got that lolly stature, but she is sugoi dekai. She has huge plots of land, and that's it bounces as you would in anime physics, and that's also not something I'm interested in. So everything put together, I don't even remember the senpai's name. I just was like, there's a senpai guy who is boring, then there's Uzaki-chan who is annoying, and that's the dynamics. I'm sure there's gonna be a bunch of other situations, and I already seen like bunny girl costumes and school swimsuit costumes and still shots from other episodes or previews, whatever. But it's not my cup of tea. So this is another one where I did watch it, the full first episode, and I was mostly annoyed the entire time, and I was done.
The thing that actually changed my opinion on it a lot to want to watch even more was actually episodes 2 and on, because you get to introduce to the main character's boss at this cafe, and it's so hilarious to me because the master sees their antics and sees what's going on with them, and he has so much fun watching them being watching her torment him and how he reacts around her, and it changed it a lot for me when they introduced him. And now with episode 3, you see his daughter, which has the exact same personality, it seems. And I don't want to explain it, but it's just so much funny seeing this guy and this girl watching them and just having fun at their expense. At one point, he's like, I'm going to have to give him a raise so he sticks around because I don't want to miss this show. Which, I was breaking up with this the master, the old guy that was just watching over them, and I didn't see so much in the later episodes, but one thing that did bug me in the first episode was the cat and its eyes. It always had these really buggy eyes and just stared at them, and I was like, I didn't understand what the whole thing was about. But they
Yeah, I
kind
don't
of,
get that either.
they kind of lowered that, so I'm happy about that. And also brought some nostalgia to me about, I think I sent a screenshot to our Discord where they had the movie listings where they changed a lot of our movies and with some kind of cat puns in them, like how we did our Jordan puns for all the anime titles that we made back in the day. That was really fun. So, but other than that, yeah, it seems like it's just going to be just slapstick humor most of the time going on.
Yeah, I will say I kind of felt what you guys were kind of like saying about this, where I watched the first episode and I didn't like how like pesky of a character she was. And that's like where the show kind of breaks apart for me, even though I'm watching it. Was like how, he knew her from the swim team, but apparently she didn't have the same personality she does now or something, or this all wouldn't have been, maybe it wasn't news to him, but like they don't really show what their interaction was like in that high school setting. But I did find it kind of weird that she watched him for like a year, not doing anything at all, only to like up the scale to 11. Like, oh, okay, I waited a year. Now we're just, boom, 11. And so like elements of storytelling like that I tend not to enjoy. And I really do hate the cat face thing. I hate that thing so much. I don't know like how it's a mascot character of the show. I don't know if it's an artist quirk or where it came from. But anytime that cat's involved, it not boils my blood, but like the next closest thing to it, it just irks me because I'm like, what's the point of this? Like, I can't.
You talking about the flesh fang or fangs in general?
No, not that. The cat face. There's a cat that
face.
like, yeah. If you like.
Okay.
There's this cat. He's like in that logo somewhere, but he has this like, he's just like this jaw-dropped cat looking wide-eyed, and I'm just.
Oh
I
yeah,
hate
there's
it.
a weird cat lurking around from time to
Yeah,
time.
that's the thing. Because
Yeah.
in the first episode, he was like, and like it made sense in like the first episode because they went to a movie theater and they were like, she was acting up in public and they were making a scene, and okay, fine, it made sense. But then in like another episode, they're like in his apartment building while he's sick. Nothing's really happening, and this thing standing outside with that face. And I'm like, what the F is this? Like, why did you care to show this? How does this cat know anything that's going on in there? But anyway, but yeah, it's kind of like what I believe Tank said. No, well, he's not doing the jaw drop thing there, but yeah, someone shared an image of it. What was I saying? The antics of the first episode didn't necessarily win me over, but it definitely became better. Like, because I knew at least I wasn't going to be watching like pure antics from the point where it introduced a few more characters and had a little more of a dynamic going on rather than, oh, you're going to see scene after scene after scene. So that made it a lot more palatable, and I did start enjoying it quite a bit more after that, but I wasn't sure I was going to be watching this one. I know what you're talking about with like the flesh thing, but like I didn't care. The cat bugs me more than the damn. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's an okay show, but I at least it's not like there's this one trope that anime does that I absolutely kind of disdain, and it's like the tsundere imoto thing, where like you have this imoto character who not like literally physically abuses the Oni-chan character, but like at times like just really will like literally like no holds barred attack the guy because they're embarrassed or in tsundere mode or whatever. And that's like an aspect of anime that I never wish came to be because I kind of hate seeing that. And the protagonist kind of does that to the annoying character in this show. And while it does feel a little bit like Retribution, I still tend not to like characters like I mean, it wasn't like I'm not punching the girl. I think it was like he did like the upward nose pull or something, and she's oh my nose, but I was like at least it's toned down.
Yeah, so that's Uzaki-san on Funimation, and I think I'm gonna keep up watching it. Let's see here what's next. Oh, yeah, let's stick with some schools settings and go to this one. Kanajo Okiri no Okaeri Shimasu.
Okaeri shimasu.
Yeah, which translates into the rent a girlfriend on Crunchyroll.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm actually was happy that it wasn't a high school setting. I thought it was going to be a high school setting based on the character designs, but it's actually characters are I think the first year of college.
College.
Right?
Really, I mean, there's no difference.
Yeah.
Nothing distinguishing so far about the fact that they're in college.
But yeah, this one I don't know. I watched the first 2 episodes yesterday, so I don't know where I am with this. I didn't really have any high expectations of this show. I probably wasn't even thinking of watching it, but since there's really nothing this season, I decided to watch it yesterday. And main character, don't know his name, can't remember it. Has a girlfriend for a month. They break up, and he just so happens to be one of these people that can't live without another person, and decides that he can't be alone, so he decides to rent a girlfriend because he saw an ad on his phone. And due to desperation, he ended up renting a girlfriend, and she ended up being this cute girl with this great personality that made him happy. And then afterwards, he read some reviews and realized that, well, obviously it's all a show, a stunt. It's her performance for the girlfriend, being a girlfriend. And he gets upset. And then in order to tell her off, he rents her again. And due to some circumstances, now they're getting into some kind of conflict where his grandmother thinks that he's his girlfriend, and it's leading to all these issues. So due to a lie and due to many issues and secrets that they're trying to hide, it seems that this relationship is going to get really complicated, even though it shouldn't, because it's a job and they have rules. But yeah, there's a lot going on, and I don't know. I'm on the fence about this, but it also seems, Albert, you're on the fence on this as well, or maybe you're dropping it.
I dropped it. So, vaguely interested in it because of the entire the girlfriend boyfriend service that is available in Japan. People use it for different reasons because they can't find a real girlfriend boyfriend, or it's not an escort service. That sort of thing is strictly prohibited according to the click and but anyway, the use it for different reasons, and one of them might be to kind of try out the date plan with your actual date, or you might be trying out. You might have a arranged date, right? Omiai, and so you want to be prepared for that. So I see that, there might be a service like that, and so I was curious to see how it would be depicted. According to the wiki, this is based on a manga series, and the manga author became interested when he first heard about it. He's like, what? And he actually tried it out, and this is kind of the story that came out of it. Having said that, after watching the first episode, uh, main character, whose name I think is Kazuya, is not, he's not a great guy. He's kind of a jackass, and there's no reason, at least in the first episode, why his girlfriend dumped him. They don't pick up the girlfriend dumped him. Okay, and then in that short span of time, he was like saying he tried to, you know, move the relationship along, but he hasn't even held hands with her. Okay, so when the rent-a-girlfriend holds his hand, he's like elated, and when he finds out that that's what she does, he's pissed off and writes this review on the site saying she's dumb and 1 star. That's kind of a shitty thing to do. And then, he rents her again just so he could tell her off, and he's acting like a jerk, is mean to her, and all of this, and she, rightfully tears him a new one, saying, this is what you paid for. What the hell are you doing? You're embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing me, and all this. And when the call comes to go to, he finds out his grandmother has suddenly taken ill and is in the hospital. There's no reason, except anime reason, for her to go along with him. And of course, there's no reason, except anime reason, that her grandmother is in the same hospital. And you know how those old people are. They all know each other once they're in the same place. So of course, his grandmother knows her grandmother, and things get complicated. Oh, it's all a misunderstanding, complicated, blah, blah, blah. But I just hate Kazuya, and I couldn't stand watching him, basically. So, despite cute character designs, the animation is okay, but it's a little weird. There's portions where the characters have very thick outlines, like the inking of their outlines are thick relative to the image that you see. So I think that's a little. It might be because the different animators are animating different sections, but it's a little weird. And they do some super deformed character, the chibi versions, when they're flustered and things. Kind of weird. His entire personality, like, he imagines the girlfriend that he dumped him, right, having a new boyfriend and getting it on with him, and he's like, "Oh, I'm getting turned on by this. Why am I getting turned on by this? Really? That's not something I want to know about." Okay, so all in all, Kazuya is just a fucking loser, and I don't want to watch his loserness keep on with the show because it gets complicated. It turns out Chizuru, the rent-a-girlfriend, is also at the same university that he is. She looks different because her everyday life, but she's there. And I read on the wiki that things get more complicated because they are actually neighbors. Really?
Is this a comedy?
It's
Kind of.
supposed to be a romantic comedy, and it's not. It's just not. I think he's a shitty person.
Yeah,
And maybe it's his growth, a better person, but I can't stand him.
No, you find out she's not a good person in the second episode. The ex-girlfriend. And yeah.
Oh yeah, the ex-girlfriend. Talking about the rent-a-girlfriend seems more wholesome, but she has her own reasons, and maybe by the second episode you find out why she can't quit this job right now. And it's anime tropes. I'm guessing it's either she has to pay for her own way through college because she never got a dime from her parents, or she's trying to pay for her grandmother's health. So bills or something. So whatever. But he's just a shitty kid, right? He got all this money from you see his bank account. He got all his money from his dad, and it's like his dad is like, this is all you're getting, college, and yet he's spending 40,000 yen. That's $400 twice on renting a girlfriend. That should tell you what kind of person he is. So done.
Yeah, and even though he said it's a romantic comedy, I haven't really seen too many comedy moments in the show. Like, I don't think I really busted out laughing or anything, but I would say there were a few chuckle moments. But yeah, it's a strange show. But on a side note, I don't know if anyone watches Conan O'Brien. He did this abroad series where he goes to Japan and he actually rents a family in one of the episodes, and it's really hilarious because she's like talking about how you can rent people. So he decides to rent a whole family, a mother, a father, and then a boy and a girl. I don't know if they're older sister, little sister, how they played it all out, but it was a funny comedic moment if you want to check out that rental service thing in Japan from a comedian standpoint.
Yeah, it's a real thing. So
I mean, from the outside description, it sounds kind of interesting. Like I would watch a drama with that premise, but you seem to be pretty down on it. Like you don't think like the character, the shitty main character, like there's a point to him, like they're going to make some sort of, there's going to be some sort of thesis that like makes him worthwhile, or he has some sort of interesting character development from his starting point.
It gets very muddy.
Others have other opinions, so I'll let Nick or
Lonely.
You already know my opinion, so
Yeah.
I'll let Nick speak.
Yeah. I can see where a lot of angles are coming from this thing, because like in episode 1, I kind of got this like not literal but slight like Romeo and Juliet vibe, like where we have to arrange this thing, kind of like Nisekoi did, where their relationship was like supposed to be an act. But you quickly kind of realize that because of the lie, the character has to keep like recurring her services. Typically not through the website, just because like I don't know, his grandmother comes over or something, and she's next door, and it works out. But like one of the narratives that it starts setting up that are, in my opinion, kind of like might turn a lot of people off to this show is in that like evil ex-girlfriend we were talking about, where apparently like in the show we were given the explanation that she broke up with him because she found someone else that she wanted to be with, and we quickly come to find out that she's just a really manipulative person who was probably broke up with him as just an act to, I don't know exactly why, because it's quickly revealed that she wants to get back together with him now, and she's very, very manipulative, and it's setting up a lot of scenarios that are kind of like, if you've seen those like characters who are good at controlling others' perspectives, and like because like whenever she fails to get the outcome that she wanted, you see like the breakdown of this surface personality that's that's trying to manipulate others.
Okay.
So there is a lot that like, because at one point she's like, it's this character who is supposed to have the impression that her ex-boyfriend is with a girlfriend, and she's like trying to do things with that to either break it up or make him come back to her. And it's just like the viewer knows what's going on, but just to have a character like this portrayed in anime is like, bad morals and stuff. In bad faith. I don't know exactly. Like, I know where I'm going, but I can't put it into words too well.
Yeah. Are you going to keep on watching this, Nick?
I am.
Okay,
I'm gonna try to at least.
I'm going to rely on you to let me know if I should watch the next few after episode. Probably around episode 6. Give me a synopsis if it's okay to watch, or I should try to watch a little more or something.
Hmm. I understand. Gotcha.
Other than that, are there any other titles out there that we should talk about? I think we've gone through most of the stuff everyone's seen.
Has anyone seen that Netflix science stutter thing? I forgot the name of it. It's like Tokyo something something 2020.
Oh, Tokyo
Oh, the thing
Sinks.
Albert brought up.
Has anyone seen that?
No.
I was told
Yeah,
by I was told by a friend that I should watch it, but I haven't seen it.
I heard it was bad, but I didn't read in detail like why that is. So, but there it had some like animation problems, so maybe it's like functionally bad. I don't know how the story is, but yeah, I was just curious if anyone's seen it. So I kind of forgot about it until like a week ago when everyone's like, when I suddenly start reading that like, oh, this is out and people have seen it.
Mm-mm.
I mean,
one
all
of
the reviews that I saw seems to indicate people think it's epic, but
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know.
Hmm.
Don't know for sure because I haven't watched it. I'm planning on it, but I just haven't had time.
Mhm.
Yeah, like my friends seemed very excited and thought that was good, and they told me I should watch it. So I haven't heard anything bad about it, but
Okay.
I haven't really seen anything that makes me say I should watch this, except for my friend saying.
Hmm.
But I don't really rely on that friend for anime information.
Oops.
Because, yeah, their decision making tend to not be on par with mine. I mean, they like Scum's Wish, okay?
Oh.
I'm pretty much like super out of touch with anime, like these days. So like you guys are like one of the few sources that I still have. They're just like what's on TV now? Like what's contemporary anime like?
Mhm.
You know, I've only watched like one show, and that's only because like the Sakuga people were hyping it up, and it comes from a director that I like. But like beyond that kind of thing, like I don't know what's on.
Yeah, I still check a lot of stuff out. Just before we get kind of like too far from it, I know we talked about a few season 2s of shows like ReZero and Sword Art. There are a few more from this series. You got the teenage romance snafu thing, and you got the Fire Force, which they're season 2 contents. But there's also, I just wanted to give a special mention that they're not particularly on our list. A lot of the shows that ended up going on hiatus due to the pandemic season have resumed this season. So none of them are present on the list that we're all referencing. But there's only one, I believe, that I was watching that hasn't started up yet. And it's like the weird, like, expensive cop thing, the Balance Unlimited. But the Appare, the steampunk race across
Oh
the
yeah,
continent.
the PA Works thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's running again. Not that you guys care, but the Shokugeki Soma thing started up again. I know there's more, but
Breakwater Club.
yeah,
Yeah,
just
that
all
one
that
I'm
stuff
waiting for.
seemingly has resumed at this point. So I just like that probably should be this season since they obviously didn't finish last season, but like we were typically at the 2-3 episode point with those anyway before they went on hiatus. So they'll probably be in this one's end of season discussion.
A little bit on the sidetrack. Agretzko season 3 starts next month. I think they're dumping it at the late August in Netflix.
And
Yeah.
yeah, there's this thing called The Great Pretender. I guess it's a Netflix release in Japan right now that's also coming out this season.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that. Has anyone seen that? Is that any good?
Mm-mm.
I haven't seen it.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard mixed things about it. Like some people said, "Oh, the first episode is great, and everything after that is garbage." I actually don't know.
Wait, which show is this?
So
The Great Pretender.
Oh no.
So I do want to mention another thing is that Crunchyroll, their app has changed on the phones and tablets. It looks like, and it has a nice new feel. and new recommendations. And I kind of want to get your guys' opinion later on some of these recommendations. Here's this image where it shows they actually have a thing here that says nice Sakuga recommended animes.
Wow.
So
That shit is mainstream. I remember doing like the Sakuga panel in like 2012. People are like, "What's Sakuga?" And it's like, we shouldn't have called it the Sakuga panel. Nobody knows what this is. Have to give it some other meta name, like amazing animators, animation or something. The art of animation. But yeah, now you can just put it as a subtitle, like in a streaming app. It's like Sakuga's come a long way.
It's got its own mini
The
category.
mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the summer season for people watching. Here's our summer bell. I would like to say have fun out there, but I would recommend staying inside, wearing a mask if you do go outside. And I can't wait to see all of you again at the end of the season, hopefully sooner. I really want to do more hangout sessions where we can just sit and chat and talk about more anime, but with
Oh,
us being
you,
adults.
you know, Amazon
it's
has
hard.
like that Prime viewing with your friends now.
Oh
So
really?
anything on Amazon, you can sync up and have a view party.
We
Well,
might,
what about your primeless friends here?
Fuck 'em. What's on Amazon anyway? Oh, I guess there's that list on like
yeah, they got the Great Passage.
live chart.
We should watch that. The Great Passage. About making dictionaries.
Don't remember.
It's about making dictionaries.
Oh, that thing, yeah.
Drama.
Yeah, they
I
got.
saw the film, so
We can watch Grand Blue all together.
No.
But yeah, so
you
everyone,
could turn it into a drinking game. We'll all be dead.
every time they think they drink water, we should drink. But with that,
we wouldn't get messed up at all.
thank you everyone for watching. Thank those who are going to be watching later on, and have a happy and fun summer. The list is kind of low, so hopefully get a catch up. We made a new listing in our Discord for light novels, so if you guys are out there reading light novels and have recommendations, please put it on the Discord. I'd like to pick up some new titles. Like I said, I'm going to read Monster Girl's Doctor, and I'll let you guys know how that turns out on Discord. And I kind of want to hope to get our Discord a little more active. We kind of fallen asleep there, but we'll see how that goes. But other than that, bye B. Thank you for watching.
See ya.
All right, you guys, I gotta get back to
See you
work.
later.
See it. Have fun at work.
Yeah.